to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So we got a hurricane in November. This is something... This is something that's very rare. Like, honestly, like, I was starting to eat my hurricane supplies. I was like, hey, luckily I didn't go through my gas. And luckily, it's only a Category 1. But, yeah, we have a hurricane Category 1, Nicole, I believe her name is. And it is going to be hitting us, I think, Thursday morning at like 1 a.m. or something like that. But anyways, it's not too bad, thankfully. And yeah, so luckily I didn't go through all my food. So anyways, we're stocking up. I know a lot of Floridians are stocking up, but back in the day, hurricane Category 1s and 2s, you still went out. There's a lot of places that are still going to remain open and everything. It's really the Category 3 and above that we start to worry about. So anyways, I hope everyone stays safe, and hopefully this hurricane blows right through and doesn't do too much damage. This Sunday, I am excited because this Sunday we are at the Inner Truth in Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie. I wanted to say Port Charlotte for some reason. I don't know why. But in Port St. Lucie at the Inner Truth Project, we will be hosting a class called Your Attitude Makes Your Gratitude from 2 to 4. And so if you're in the area, I would really love it if you guys came to visit the class. This is not your typical gratitude class. I know there's a lot of gratitude classes. I know there's even a company that specifically focuses on gratitude, but we're going to talk about why, you may have learned so many different ideas about gratitude and why gratitude really doesn't stick when you've learned it, and a lot of times we can't get out of our head and into gratitude for it be long enough to stick. So I want to be able to teach people a little bit on a deeper level why this concept of gratitude sounds great, but why it might not be sticking in your life. So if you have some time, we'd love to see you on Sunday from 2 to 4 and at the Inner Truth Project. All right, guys, as always, we're coming live from what are we coming live from? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, and as always, the Facebook replays are on the Transcendental. You know what? This full moon has gotten to me. I have been a complete mess. I will be honest with you. It's not often that I'm fumbling around and doing stuff. I've cut my finger. I broke some stuff at a store. I was knocking things down, and I've been a total goofball since then. So if I seem a little kind of off today, you just guys got to bear with me. The full moon is really like messing with me a little bit. So all right, guys, let's get into tonight's show, because tonight is all about honesty and also resistance and refusal, and it's titled Honesty versus Resistance and versus Refusal. And this is something that is very important for us, because so many of us will sit there and we wonder why there's so much chaos into our life. We wonder why there's so much toxicity and why we're constantly in this cycle of disappointment, and so much cycle of attracting these ideas that are just gonna like bring us into these very harsh realities. And one of the things that we have to start recognizing within ourselves is, and I know this sounds cliche, and I know a lot of people will sit there and say, well, okay, yes, I know we need to be honest, but honest is just being honest is more than just being verbally honest with somebody. It doesn't mean just lying. It means, what are we doing in our life as far as who we are? Like the world itself, it has lost touch with a lot of what's going on, because we've lost touch with who we are. We've become disillusioned in the idea that that we're chasing these ideas of having money, fame, popularity, ego, whatever it is, and we become disillusioned in this idea of actually why we're here. You look at the world the way we are, and we seem like everybody is confused on why life is, and we have all these different ideas as far as religion, spirituality, politics, belief systems, morals, you name it. But we have all these different systems creating all this chaos in our life, and we are supposed to be living by this rule. It doesn't matter what idea of spirituality you're in, or what idea of religion, or atheist, or whatever it is. Or in anything, there's always a set of rules to everything. And these rules are supposed to be able to guide us, right? We have these rules, and I grew up Catholic, and I'm not Catholic anymore, but we had the 10 Commandments, and I'm sure if you follow spirituality, religion, whatever you follow, or whatever, so we have all these rules that are supposed to tell us, okay, well, be honest, be open, don't do this, and it kind of, and even though we learn it, I mean, we look on Sesame Street, and I even watch the kids because of my nephew and stuff. I watch PBS and a bunch of kids shows and stuff. And it's always telling us, to be yourself and to be honest and to be open. But where does that translation happen when we start to get into high school and college? And we kind of lose it. It seems like all of a sudden we change who we are. We change these ideas. And it seems like all of a sudden the world, from then on out, that we start chasing this idea of dishonesty. We're no longer living for ourselves. We're living because these ingrained ideas that have been planted into us by maybe our parents or society, that we have to get a job, that we have to be married, that we have to have all this stuff, money, we have to be successful. And if you're not these things, then all of a sudden our lives are not deemed as successful, and we're called different names, and it just seems kind of like this big chaotic moment. And in those moments, we have to realize that we've adopted these belief systems. We've adopted these beliefs that somebody else have told us, and we've lost touch with the meaning of self. And this is very important, because these are false ideas. I talk about false ideas all the time, and I talk about it for a reason, because in this idea in these ideas of falseness, what ends up happening is they create these blockages and these constructs that kind of trick us into thinking that there's something there that we need to be chasing, or there's something there that we need over self. And this is something that we have to eventually evolve out of, because when we lose meaning of who we are and why we're here, this is the reason why there's so much fighting on. Pretty soon, within a short amount of time, the Third World War will be coming, and the reason why this has happened is because we've lost touch with the ideas of who we are. We've lost touch of, every time there's something major that happens, like World War I, World War II, anything that happens like let's say an illness like the COVID happened, or something, it's supposed to remind us that the most important thing is who we are and living for ourselves, and really finding out why we are the person who we are in this moment, meaning in this lifetime, and really living for this. We're supposed to be letting go of the chaos of society. We're supposed to be letting go of the judgment, the ego, the emotion, all of this stuff. And what happens is a funny little thing, because in society, everything is created in separation. But in those moments of, let's say, like World War II, and that, what ends up happening is all that chaos is brought together to remind people that humanity is supposed to be able to be one as a unit, that we're all one, no matter what it is, what race we are, what, religion, spirituality, atheism, whatever we believe, whatever we look, no matter our skin color, no matter our sexuality or gender identity or whatever, that we are all one. And this is the first part that separates us, because society creates us this. We were talking about this on our last show a little while ago, that that society, when we start to label something, what happens is we start to separate ourselves because of this. And so what ends up happening is we lose the ideas of what it is. And so when we're trying to be honest with ourselves, we can't see honesty. We can't live honestly. We can't go forth in honesty, because again, honesty doesn't mean that we're just speaking verbally. What it means is that we're recognizing ourselves in every possible outcome. And so that means we're able to look at things with a different perception other than our own. We're able to remove our emotions. We're able to stop looking at these situations and people and judging this. And we've kind of remembered that, hey, it doesn't matter if I'm a man or a woman in this lifetime. What matters is that what I'm starting to gain a bigger picture of perspective. I'm starting to gain that idea of masculine and femininity. I'm starting to gain those ideas of oneness. I'm starting to understand the idea that everything that's happening in my life is happening for me and to teach me lessons. And this is all part of the honesty. When we hold on to like ideologies such as religion and spirituality, and I know, and look, I know a lot of you get upset because I even had to make a post the other day that a lot of people think I teach spirituality, and I don't. I teach consciousness. I'm not a spiritualist. I'm not religion. That's fine if that's what's for you and everything like that. But there are limitations, and I want you guys to understand that there are anytime you hold down to an idea of anything that will create a limitation, that, hey, if I believe this in religion, or I believe this in spirituality, or I believe this in politics or gender or whatever it is, race or whatever, the moment that happens, you stop and you put a limitation on that idea, and that can only take you so far. Consciousness takes us, and this is part of honesty, is I had to, even in this lifetime, shed all those ideas that I was taught as a child and learn to reevaluate and say, okay, well, I see all these limitations. If I'm going to believe in this, then I can't be honest with myself, because I'm adopting this idea, this ideology, and I'm placing it on me. And now that overshadows who I am, and that puts a limitation on my growth. And this is why so many of us can only be taken so far in life through, and you can go see 1,000 psychologists or spiritual healers, teachers, shamans, whatever, and you will only go so far, is because in those moments of those ideas, once you adopt that ideology, what ends up happening is you build the lie. And I don't mean like it's going to be a terrible lie and it's going to cause all this chaos. But what it's going to do is it's going to say, well, this is the only thing that I'm going to learn. This is the only thing that I'm going to believe. And because of that, now I'm going to create a judgment within myself. I'm going to start becoming dishonest with me, because now I'm taking this idea and saying, well, this idea means more to me than who I am. And this idea makes me feel safe. Then I'm going to place all my eggs in the basket. I'm going to place all this hope and dreams and everything on this is the way it's going to be. And now I've just separated myself from the rest of the world. This is why there is so much judgment and limitation in the world today, is because the moment we say, well, yes, I agree with this, or I don't agree with this, and I shut down right away, or yes, I agree with this, and I'm just going to listen to people who talk like this. The moment we say that is the moment we shut down and dishonesty comes in our life. Because remember, when we're honest, it's not just speaking who we are. It's not just speaking and not lying. Yes, that is true. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when you're at the store and something is played, like you forgot to put something, or you see the cashier forgot to check something out, and you're thinking, wow, I can really get away with that $20, couple pieces of fish right there, and that'll save me $20. But right then and there, creates this whole idea of looking at self as a reflection of who we are based on the adoptions that we do. It was funny because I was speaking with a friend of mine, an acquaintance. They're like, and what ended up happening was this person told me and I'm not going to repeat it over there, but they told me that they did some dishonest things, and I kind of took a step back. And what was funny about it was they were justifying their dishonesty by their actions and saying, well, you know what, well, yeah, because, this company makes a lot of money, and what are they going to miss, and I need the money. And I'm just thinking, wow. And I sat there and I said, you really believe that that's how things work? Well, yeah, because I balance out the karma. I'm balancing out this, if I do good and I do, and I do something bad, it washes out. So I'm even Steven. And I love this person to death, but I kind of laughed and I said, that's not how things work. That's being dishonest. And it doesn't matter how many good things, because remember, there is no good or bad. It doesn't matter how many good things you're doing. The bad, and there's my air quotes again, it doesn't wipe out. It doesn't even things out. It doesn't work like this. But when we live a life of lies, we will justify our actions because we don't want to see ourselves for who we truly are. This is part of the resistance and the refusal that we'll get into a little bit later. I have so many notes tonight. I'm going to try to skip around because honestly, I don't want to really do a two-part show on this. But when we start to do that, what we're saying is because I'm insecure and I have doubt within myself, this causes us to lie. This causes us dishonesty in our life. This causes us to justify the ends to the mean. So in one of my friends' cases, they were justifying their actions because they felt that their life was there was insecurity in it. And hey, what's the matter? Other people have anyways. I'm just going to get mine, right? And that's how most of us live. This type of thinking keeps us in this chaotic cycle. We have to remember that everything in life is cycles. That's why even this idea of positive and negative and raising our vibration and everything, we have to realize that in this idea, we're going to raise this, when we talk about positive and negative and raising the vibration rate, when we say, oh, I'm going to raise the vibration, I'm going to get away from the negativity, the low vibration, I'm only going to be a positive. We have to remember that, one, there's no such thing as positive and negative energy, and that we're completely misunderstood on that. But even in the idea of high vibration versus low vibration, people think, well, I only got to be in the high vibration. I only got to be in the positive. I only got to, I got to get away from that low. But we don't realize that everything is a cycle, and everything needs to kind of you have to have both sides of the spectrum. No one can be high vibration all the time, and no one can be low vibration all the time. That's why the idea of positive and negative is polarity for one, but it's not true. But we can't be these things. So in this idea, we're trying to figure out this idea of, because we're refusing to see who we are, and we're resisting a life of honesty because we feel that if I do this and everyone else is doing it and I keep this going, well, what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to make out, and things are going to be easier for me. Things are going to be able to do this. And it creates this cycle going. And so this cycle is to teach you that as long as you resist this, as long as you refuse to acknowledge what you're doing and you keep justifying this life of dishonesty will keep this continuous cycle going. And then we blame karma for this idea of karma got you finally, and that's just not the way it is. But let's take a break, and we will be right back after these messages from our sponsor, Phytotanics.
With so many fads and gimmicks in today's world, it is crucial to understand the choices we make regarding what we ingest and apply to our bodies. Phytotanics Herbothecary herbal products help make those choices simple and smart. They use only the purest sourced ingredients to produce superior quality products that your body will love. Their specialized crystal-infused blends are formulated to establish and maintain a healthy and radiant external as well as internal domain. Relish in the full line of natural organic ready-made body and skincare, and experience Phytotanics therapeutic-grade essential oils, or get creative and combine their high-quality raw ingredients to create your own blends. Phytotanics custom fusion formulas are clinically developed by a licensed esthetician to suit your individual needs. We pride ourselves on the promise that your products will be formulated and tailored just for you. Visit Phytotanics.com or call 813-402-2089 for more information. Give your body the natural, healthy look it's been craving with Phytotanics Herbothecary.
All right, everybody, we are back, and if you are just joining us, we are ready for part 2 of this show. Yeah, man. So So this is what we have to understand. We have to start understanding that everything we do is always related to some type of fear, and most of the time it's a fear of loss. So if we look at life and we're saying, well, I'm doing this and I'm going to justify myself, or I'm going to, because I need money, because I'm not going to pay rent, or if I got to make myself look better than I am because people are going to judge me, whatever this is, we create this cycle that lowers the vibration and limits the way of thinking. And so we think that life is loss. I don't know how many people that I come across that truly believe that life is nothing more than loss. We were born, we were constantly having struggle, we constantly have things taken away from us. People die, and then we die, and then we start the cycle all over. And this is a serious thought by many people. There are so many people that fear the idea of loss. And you know what? Yes, it's not so much loss. It's change. It's transition. Everything has to cycle. Once you start to learn and understand that everything in life is about cycles, then what ends up happening is you start to understand that I'm not losing anything. I'm just moving through a period of time. I'm moving through a period of friends. I'm moving through a period of lessons, whatever it is, and new things are going to come. But because we hold on to these ideas, remember, we're resistant. We like this idea of comfortability. So we resist. We're resisting this idea because, hey, you know what? I have what I like. I'm comfortable. I'm a creature of habit. I don't like change. And now I'm going to resist and refuse to see the situation for what it is. And so we fear the loss. We fear change. We fear the transition. We fear the cycle of life. And no matter how much we try to resist it, what still happens? We still go through transition. We still go through change, right? We still go through that cycle. You don't stop aging. You don't stop, people don't stop coming in and out of this world. Like jobs recycle, education, everything, no matter what it is. Even you should be recycling who you are, your identity, and everything every 6 months, every year. I am constantly trying to say, okay, well, hey, it's been 6 months. Yes, I'm not the same as 6 months ago. I'm not the same as yesterday even, but at the same time, let's see what else Miss Raina can be like. Let's see what else I can do. Let's push the boundaries. Let's see what else I'm capable of. And this is because I'm honest with myself. I don't hold the idea of that Miss Raina is owning this, and you shouldn't either. You should not hold to yourself that you are owning whatever the idea is, because then we're refusing to see who we truly are, and we can't be honest with ourselves. If you continue to see life as that I'm limited because, life is limited, food. I mean, right now I went to Whole Foods for the first time. And I was actually shocked that there was no carrots, there was half the herbs, a lot of the vegetables were off the shelf. And I was like, where is everything? What's going on? And the guy was like, we're out of stock. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, the last hurricane really put us out of stock. And I said, that doesn't sound right. The last hurricane, it only went over Florida in little parts. I mean, there's carrots and other places grown everywhere, and even other countries. So, but at the same time, I could have said, I had a choice. If I'm going to resist life and I'm going to not be honest with me, I'm going to refuse to see, then all I'm going to say, oh my God, there's a shortage. I'm going to start freaking out. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I didn't, because working honestly with myself says, you know what? This is part of the cycle of life. There's a lot of things going on. We're still getting over all this stuff where people are still, out of work, we're getting money, etc. And so this is a cycle. And so during this cycle, I know that I'm always provided for. And so what I did is I said, okay, well, there's other farmers markets and places that have these things. So I went to other places. Yeah, it was a little bit out of the way, but I got my food. and I got my juicing supplies. And so because I didn't resist and I didn't refuse to see what was going on. Yes, at Whole Foods, they're short. Okay, well, there's thousands of supermarkets all over. This is the same thing that you have to understand in life. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter how big it is in your life. It's all the same thing. And when you change your perception from saying, okay, well, I'm going to be honest with myself, and I'm going to work honest with my life and the way things are just natural. Because remember, everything is about cycles and rhythms. When we're in rhythm and everything, we allow that energy to come in, and we start to pull at what it is we're truly desiring. And if we're desiring limitation and resistance and refusal, and we're desiring and we're creating all this chaos, well, this is why drama is in our life all the time. This is why you're constantly suffering with pain, or you're constantly suffering and have pain and chaos in the life, is because we are not in self-realization. Our true form, the true identity to who we are, is to realize self. And when we don't realize who we are, when we give in to the fears, when we become dishonest and we give in to the illusions and we resist these things, that's when we put the brakes on, and then all of a sudden we say, hey, yeah, well, I'm without, so I gotta lie, I gotta cheat, I gotta steal, I gotta lie, make myself be better, I gotta act cool, I gotta do all these things, I gotta act like a jerk, so it makes it seem like I don't care. And this is not the way life is. People are one of the things this reminds me of us all the time is people always talk about the Matrix, right? They're always like, oh, we got to escape the Matrix, especially after the Matrix movie came out. And everyone started talking about the Matrix like they understood the idea of what the Matrix is. And it's always like we think we need to escape from life. We need to escape from the Matrix because we're this little insignificant spirit that's creating a soul that's incarnated in life, and the whole goal is to escape it. And that can't be further from the truth. Our goal is not to escape, but to learn how to work with it and to learn, because you can't escape it, because our consciousness created everything. We are the creator of everything that is happening in this particular universe. And so it is impossible for you to escape yourself. And this is one of the biggest lessons that we have to understand, because again, we see separation, we see without. You're different than I am. I'm a different gender than you are. I'm different, etc. I'm different races, different. You have more, I have less. Your life is easier, etc. And it goes on and on. And so all this separation, all this dishonesty. Imagine what would happen if all of a sudden you start, even if you weren't totally true to living to yourself yet, imagine what would happen if you just spoke honestly. Imagine if you just did that. Imagine if every time someone asked you a question, instead of giving them a BS answer, or instead of lying to them or saying some roundabout excuse, imagine what would happen if you just answered honestly. That would change everything about you, because you would realize that there's nothing to fear. There's absolutely nothing to fear. Okay, so, I did that. Or, yeah, you know what? I thought that, and this was different. And you didn't resist, because the moment you become afraid of something, the moment you do that, you give that idea power, and that becomes stronger than you. And then the idea of honesty gets away. And so we start to resist that. And because when we start to change that energy, when we start to resist that vibration, what ends up happening is it's almost like, if you ever looked at the old analogy when a pond or a thing of water is still and you can see your own reflection, and then they say, oh, if you touch it, it puts ripples and then it kind of distorts. That's exactly what happens in life. Every time you resist, every time you refuse, every time you live in dishonesty, this is the reason why you can't see truth. You can't see what's going on. You can't see who you are or who you're dating or whatever for what it really is because we have these ideas that we want to shape with our lives, but we don't really want to see the reality because we think it's going to be too painful. this idea of the ego must be released. When we are in ego, when we resist, we all of a sudden don't receive accurate information that we need. If we're getting here and we're saying, okay, well, I want to do this, but I'm not sure I'm going to do this, or I want to, I'm really tired of being alone and I'm just going to date, and I'd rather be with somebody than nobody at all. What ends up happening is we're resisting our true nature, and we're resisting the truth about who we are, because we're giving in to these ideas of insecurity. And so now we're kind of like seeing things like as you were with the pool of water, if someone hit it and put all these ripples, or if it was a wave or like a choppy day at the sea or something, you can't see what you're really looking at. And this is something that confuses a lot of us. This is why so many of us, and even people that I worked with, always talk about, well, I have terrible judgment. Well, it's not that you have terrible judgment. It's that you're not seeing things for what they truly are. When you remove the idea of emotions, and you remove the idea of any, like, just ideas of ideas, ideologies, anything. When you remove the ideas of labeling and just see things. This is why when I tell people I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, I'm not anything. I get the information from the other side, and I translate it and I re-experience it, and then I just pass it along. And so it's not my belief system. It's what I've learned from over there. It's what I've learned from my guides, and I had to relearn it and retranslate. And so that keeps you open, because that can change. And as I grow, the information is allowed to grow as well. I'm not resisting who I am, because Miss Raina can be anything. You can be anything you want. When I'm honest with myself, and that means I'm not trying to be perfect. That means we should never try to achieve all these ideas that society has put onto it. If tomorrow, if all this went away, and I just worked as, let's say, and there's nothing wrong with any job. If I just worked as someone who cleaned up the street, hey, someone needs to clean up the street, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I would take pride in that, because you know what? At that moment, that's who I need to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so instead of resisting and be like, oh man, well, I have 4 degrees in medicine, I have a 182 IQ, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I let life flow. I don't resist who I am and where I am. Yes, I'll admit it is tough, especially this last couple, like the last year, when I got ill, and I knew what was going on. I knew I needed time for me. I knew I needed time, because I've been working so hard with other people for so many years in my life, that I needed time for me, and I needed to go through this transformation. I needed to do all this stuff. And up until like maybe the last 6 months, my body started to resist a little bit, because I'm like, okay, it's been 3 years now. Okay, let's get up and start doing stuff. And I started seeing that, and slowly I started catching myself wanting to resist the journey, because I'm starting to say, okay, well, I started to put a time limit on something. Okay, all right, it's been 3 years. I'm active. I want to lose my weight. I want to go back out to the gym. I want to do all these things. And I had to catch myself and say, okay, Miss Raina, am I being honest with myself? And I said, well, what is there to be honest with? Well, I have to be honest with this situation. This situation is not over yet. This situation is I'm getting healthier, but it's not over yet. And yes, I know you want to be out doing stuff. Yes, I know you want to be at that gym. I know you want to be at that. But if I refuse to see that it's not over, and I start resisting and start trying to create and force the natural process to happen, what ends up happening is I cause more chaos, more emotions. I cause more broken energy. And then I try to force something into my life that's not ready. One, I miss out on valuable time. I miss out on valuable information. And now that information and time will be skewed when I try to convert it to wisdom. Why? Because knowledge in its truest form can be converted to wisdom. But when it's skewed, this is why so many of us think like the law of karma is out to get you, and there's an evil and God and universe that's always out to punish you, and whatever. Half these ideas that we believe that are true that just aren't, is because when we reach out and we are honest, is how we connect when we're open and honest and we're no longer resisting and refusing to see. When we say, you know what, I'm here on earth and I'm here for a reason. That means I don't know everything. I'm here for a reason. There's stuff I need to learn, and I need to be honest with myself and understand that. If I'm going to resist that, then everywhere I'm going to be like that terrible tornado. And trust me, people, I've been that terrible tornado. When I was in my 20s and I first moved into the Connecticut area, I was going through a lot of stuff in my personal life, and I was dealing with Great Depression. I was dealing with anxiety and bipolar that wasn't yet diagnosed, and I was, because I was trying to gather this information and I was resisting this change of who I was and what I was here to do and why. And it was just like, I just wanted to have fun. I didn't want the pressure on me. And I was creating all this stuff, and I was living a dishonest life. Everything about me during that time was completely dishonest. I created dishonesty. I had dishonest friends. I had people that would talk behind my back. I would do shady stuff, and it was just this and it wasn't even something that was thought out. It would be like, bam, it happened, boom, boom, boom. And I'd be like, why did I do that? And then my guides would be like, look at you. And I'd be like, what do you mean, look at me? They did that. And they're like, look at you. And I refused to see myself for who I was. I wasn't being honest with the way I was living. Because I was rejecting myself, because I was rejecting who I was, all of a sudden I started to create dishonesty everywhere. And everywhere I went was disappointment, fighting, anxiety, stress, dead ends. Every time I'd work hard for a job, all of a sudden it would fizzle out, and I'd be like, And I had to realize, okay, I'm actually creating this. I'm dishonest in my life. The way I live, I'm trying to be somebody I'm not. When people ask me stuff, I have to lie and hide, and I'm not who I am. Because for a long time, people, I was embarrassed for who I was. Because when I was young, I opened up and said, yeah, I have these guides, and, I'm this person, and I got laughed at by my friends, and I'm still friends with one of them today, and obviously they think differently about me now, and that's why we're friends. But I got laughed at, and that was embarrassing for me. And after that I realized I can't tell people this stuff, and so I started to hide. And this is where I have to ask you, where are you hiding from? Or who are you hiding from? What are you hiding from? What are you refusing to be? Because if you're in chaos, if you have chaotic moments, you lie, you have the ideas to cheat and steal and resist life, and you're going to continue, no matter what Miss Raina says or anybody says, you're going to continue to buy into your belief systems because that's what you've learned, and you refuse to that. Then what you're doing is you're choosing to be dishonest. You're choosing to resist, because I'm telling you from personal experience, and many people who have understood this concept will tell you that that's how I know that when people say, oh, I contact the Akashic Records and I do all this stuff and I'm in contact with these angels and that, I know who's telling the truth and not, because just by the way they're talking. I can tell how they interact with people, if they're open and they're understanding and they're honest and they say it in a way, and there's a particular style. Then I know that they're living in honesty. They're not resisting the truth or who they are or anything. And then I realize, but when I see people that are just in it anytime we're in it for our ego, anytime we're in it to prove ourselves, to show that we're a little bit better than someone, or we're the most knowledgeable person, or we're Mr. and Mrs. Spirituality, or Mr. and Mrs. Religion, or whatever it is, the moment we do that, I know that that person is in a cycle of chaos. They're in a cycle of illusion and refusal to see self. And this is something that we're going to talk about right back after these messages from our sponsor, Phytotanics.
With so many fads and gimmicks in today's world, it is crucial to understand the choices we make regarding what we ingest and apply to our bodies. Phytotanics Herbothecary herbal products help make those choices simple and smart. They use only the purest sourced ingredients to produce superior quality products that your body will love. Their specialized crystal-infused blends are formulated to establish and maintain a healthy and radiant external as well as internal domain. Relish in the full line of natural organic ready-made body and skincare and experience Phytotanic's therapeutic-grade essential oils, or get creative and combine their high-quality raw ingredients to create your own blends. Phytotanic's custom fusion formulas are clinically developed by a licensed esthetician to suit your individual needs. We pride ourselves on the promise that your products will be formulated and tailored just for you. Visit Phytotanics.com or call 813-402-2089 for more information. Give your body the natural, healthy look it's been craving with Phytotanics Herbothecary.
All right, everybody, we are back, and thank you for joining us for this third part. So resistance in life comes from the idea of unwilling to accept life, unwilling to accept the things that are happening to us, not just ourselves, but also our experiences. And this leads us to being dishonest. If we accept ourselves for who we are, then what that says is that I'm not going to naturally resist anything, because I know that regardless of what I experience, that I'm working towards self, that I'm learning to understand self. I may not get it right, in my air quotes again. I may not, understand everything. I may have to, take this lesson several times over. But when we resist, it says that I'm at this moment, I'm unwilling to accept this situation, this person, this life, or these habits, or whatever it is, for what it truly is. And I don't want to see that side about me. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to accept this, because that might mean that I'm going to lose this person. I'm going to lose this part of life. I'm not going to have this anymore. I'm not going to do this. Or maybe that, oh my God, I'm not perfect. I'm with error. What's that going to say about me? If people think I'm faulty, if I'm not good at this sport, and if one day my looks fade and I'm not pretty or beautiful anymore, I don't have this rocking body anymore, what are people going to think about me? No one's going to be around me. This is the idea of dishonesty, because the people around you, if they're truly around you for you, it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what gender you are, what nationality you are, what belief systems you have. They will like you for you. I have a wide variety of friends that believe different things than me, and that's great. That's wonderful, because you know what? It keeps the spice of life going. I don't sit there and say, oh, well, you have to believe in consciousness. Otherwise, oh, you don't believe in consciousness? I'm not going to be around you. That would just be silly. That would be resistance to life. I was actually talking to a dear friend of mine today, and it was funny because I've known this person for over 15 years now, and very dear to my heart. And this person was talking about their father, and their father was sick, and he was like, I'm so upset, because no matter what we say to this person, no matter what we do to him, he just doesn't get it. He like we try to tell him to be healthy, like, because one of my friend's father is sick and not doing too well, and they keep trying to change him. And I sat there and I said, you know what? I was like, there's two things here that we have to look at. One, you're not being honest with yourself. And two, this person, your dad's not being honest with themselves either. They're refusing to see something, and there's a purpose to that. When people flat out refuse to see things in life, or refuse to understand anything other than what they've adapted to it, this is a state of being unconscious. And I don't mean being knocked out, not physically conscious. What I mean is they're not aware. They're a younger soul that is guided by their blueprint. And maybe there's parts about you that are guided by your blueprint, and that's the reason why you refuse to see or adapt to certain situations. Maybe, like, I don't know how many times we run into things where people have to like be aesthetically pleasing in order for you to listen to them, or they got to be a specific gender or a specific race or whatever in order for you to listen to them. And this is a refusal of consciousness, because because information, knowledge, and wisdom can come from anybody. There's many people, I'm sure, that look at this podcast and start listening because I don't sound the way and I'm maybe not attracted to them or attractive to them, or maybe I don't say the things that they want to hear, man, they turn it off. And then there's other people that are open, that'll hear it and all of a sudden say, hey, whether, it doesn't matter whether what gen, and that, so this refusal, when you have someone like my friend's father that refuses, no matter what you tell him, no matter what you do, no matter how many times they say, yeah, I'm going to do it for sure, and then they don't do it. This is a state of being unconscious. This soul is not ready to understand the information and not willing to be honest with what's going on. Remember that in life, that yes, we could smoke all we want, and yes, there are going to be those few people that never get anything, but there's going to be lots of people that get their throat ripped out and cancers and all sorts of things. There's going to be a lot of people that eat healthy, that are healthy, and there's going to be some people that eat like junk, and most people will be, and there's always that couple % of exception. But the fact of the matter is we refuse to see the truth. We refuse to see it because we're unconscious. The refusal is the unconscious part. So if you're dealing with a situation, maybe within yourself or maybe with somebody else, and there's refusal in it, then you have to take a step back and say, look, I'm resisting this because I'm not being honest with myself. I want this person to heal up. And it's kind of selfish, and there's nothing wrong with that because maybe we love this person. We don't want to lose them. And I understand that. But I have to realize that I'm creating all this chaos in my life because now I'm trying to force somebody who's unconscious and who's unaware, that's not open-minded to this, because I'm trying to intervene in their life blueprint. We have spoken many times and many shows that I've told you about the blueprints and why we're guided by these blueprints and why we have guides and why there are many of us, especially the younger the soul, it's fate. That's what we call fate. We are guided. We have no free will, and you can see it because these people refuse to look at anything else. I have seen so many people that will come across and say they are the most open-minded person. And the moment you talk about something different, or the moment you try to, and that, man, they shut down completely, because in that section, in that part, they are unconscious and unaware that there's anything more. And this is one of the greatest things that if you're listening to this show, I applaud you, because you're sitting there saying, you know what, I'm ready for more. I want to explore more. And there's more out there. And trust me, people, I've been doing this show for 10 years, and the stuff I'm teaching is only the tip of the iceberg. I don't even get into like 90% of this stuff. And why? Because the world's not ready for it yet. I'm trying to teach at the moment of what we can understand, at what level of consciousness humanity is able to understand, and even that small percentage people have a hard time with and shut it down. And so why should I talk about all these different things? I need to be honest with myself. It would be great if I just plopped it all on there, had a million shows with all these different topics, but it would be like us. It would be like if I was in first grade learning my 1 + 1 is 2, and someone tried to teach me calculus and all these different equations, and I'd be like, what? I would have no concept of it. And so we have to be honest with ourselves and look at this. So I really want us to understand that if we're going to start transforming our life and understanding and growing in consciousness and growing this vibration, first of all, there's never really going to be peace here on earth. There's a reason for that. Peace on earth is always like this world is meant, it's our playground. We are here for it. But that doesn't mean we can't have peace within inside. That doesn't mean we can't be happy. Again, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, no matter how happy and at peace I am, the moment I come here to the 3D world, this third dimension that we call Earth, is the moment I have stuff to learn. And I have to be honest with myself that I need to relearn this stuff. Even if I've learned it 10,000 times in a million other lives, I have to relearn this because there's something else I have to learn. The moment I resist the flow, think about that. The moment someone tells you something that you don't agree with, or that you're not comfortable with, maybe someone started telling you something, you weren't comfortable with it, and you like literally start backpedaling, and then you feel yourself lock up. that's not the free flow of energy. That's stopping the information from coming. Remember, that's that limitation. That the moment we stop something, we create that limitation. That limitation will create judgment, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have to start being honest with ourselves. Ask ourselves, am I a real honest person? Do I lie? Even if it's a white lie, because a lie is a lie. Dishonest with your feelings, what you're about, who you're with, et cetera, whatever the situation is, it's still dishonest. It doesn't matter if you want to justify it and say, oh, well, it's a white lie and it's okay because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I know I'm doing my air quotes right now, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's like this is still dishonest. And so now we have to stop resisting and say, okay, if I want to truly grow and I want to start moving with these cycles instead of constantly creating the cycles, then what I have to do is, where am I refusing? Where am I not conscious? Where am I unaware of these ideas? Where do I refuse to see what this truly is? And then all of a sudden we could say, okay, well, I don't know, and I don't know how to find it. Well, then I'm going to say to you, if you don't know how to find it, next time someone has a conversation or you're watching TV or on YouTube or social media, and someone's doing something or someone says something and you instantly reject it or shut down or push back and be like, whatever. And that right there's resistance. That will tell you I'm probably in refusal in some area of my life. We don't have to agree with ideas, just like you don't have to agree with me. I didn't agree with my guides at first, but they knew more than I did. And I was conditioned by religion and society here, just like everybody else. And I had to relearn. And when they told me, well, you have to learn this stuff so you could relearn how to get out of it, so you know what the difference between truth and honesty is versus illusion and dishonesty. And I'm glad that happened, because every time I resisted in my life, I was refusing to see the truth of the situation. I was being dishonest with myself. I was being dishonest with the experience that I was having. I was being dishonest in my relationships, my friendships, whatever. I was being dishonest. One of the things that I always excelled at when I was younger was work. I was always winning awards and winning trophies and employee of the month constantly. Why? Because I didn't resist it. I just said, you know what, I'm going to do my best. And because that's what my dad drilled in me, do your best no matter what happens. Always, if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. And even though it was right or wrong, and that I still grasped the idea of what he meant. He meant give 100% of who you are. If you're going to do something, do it honestly. And when I do that, no matter what I do it honestly now. It's always about that. And when that happens, man, it just flowed. It was like bam, 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 and things were just flowing. In relationships, when I was trying to be dishonest with things and situations, and I was trying to make myself seem different and around people, especially in grade school, we know we never really truly get out of high school or grade school, because still there's always people trying to be popular. There's still the jocks, there's still the nerds, and I'm one of the nerds / jocks. But we never really, people still talk behind each other's back. We still group up and we still have cliques and everything. And we're always still trying to impress everybody. We never get out of high school or grade school. So it never leaves us. And I want you guys to take a look at around the life. Start observing. Well, am I in a clique? Do I have to be cliquey? Do I have to? My very first time when I was down here in Florida, I had someone judge me. They wouldn't be my friend. I was at a bar, and because I didn't have, the girl literally looked at my purse and I used to dress to the 9 back then because that was the Chicago way, a conditioning. But a girl literally judged me, looked at me, and I could tell she was smug because I didn't have like a Prada bag or shoes or something like that, and she was all decked out in that, and I could tell she was judging me based on my clothes. And you know what, I sat there and I was like, oh, well, all right, I'm gonna see you later. And I went and played darts, and I started making friends and by playing darts and beating all the guys, and it was a blast. But I recognize the resistance. I recognize the dishonesty. And I said, well, if I want to be friends with this person, that means I have to change who I am. That means I have to start living dishonestly and refuse to be who I am and see it because I want this person to like me. And you know what? I was never one of those people at that point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to be who I am, whether people like me or not. And this is something that I had to learn to develop. But anyways, guys, it is that time. The show is over. I want to thank you all seriously, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate all your love and support. And if you guys, I always forget my notepad. I don't know why, I always do. But anyways, if you guys know of anybody that would love the show or any of the shows, please share our show. This is the only way we're going to reach people and actually grow ourselves, and we would really greatly appreciate that. As always, you can follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation. Our YouTube is the same. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com, and sign up for our newsletter and get VIP access to hidden shows and special guest offers when we have guests on there and everything. If you have any questions about the shows, questions or comments, please email me at transcendentaltransformations, that's plural, at gmail.com. And always remember to believe in yourself. And it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.